Okay, so have you ever, like, seen something in tech and been like, whoa, is this actually happening?
Uh-huh, yeah.
That's me right now with this whole create content model thing in WordPress.
Mm.
You know, we're talking about building like custom post types and fields by right in the block editor, which is huge for some people.
Yeah, it's big. Could be really big.
And, you have sent in a ton of articles and code snippets, even a YouTube rant on it.
I love those.
Right. So let's deep dive into what's got everyone like buzzing and
Yeah.
what it could mean, for you.
Yeah, for sure. I think what we're seeing with this prototype especially is a huge shift potentially in how WordPress could handle structured data,
Yeah.
making it much more visual, much more intuitive.
Right. No more, cobbling together like a dozen plugins just to make your content work the way you want, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, for our listeners who haven't been glued to, like, their RSS feeds every day and all that, what does this prototype even do?
So imagine this. You're in the block editor and you want to create a new post type, right? Let's say recipe. This prototype would actually let you design that recipe post type visually right there in the editor.
Okay.
You could drag and drop blocks, like a title block for the recipe name, an image block for, those amazing food pictures that make everyone drool.
Okay. I mean, I'm already seeing the appeal here.
Right. But here's where it gets really cool. You can define custom fields and tie them directly to those blocks. So you'd have fields for like ingredients, instructions, maybe even nutritional info, all neatly organized like right there within your recipe layout.
That's super handy. But how is that different than, say, using patterns and like overrides and all that? That can get pretty complex, right?
That's a really good point. So patterns, those are great for like reusable structures. But all the data is stuck inside the pattern.
Mm.
This prototype, though, stores everything as post metadata, which for developers is like huge.
Okay, hit me with these developer superpowers then.
So think of things like query loops. So you could easily display all your recipes on a page. You could do bulk editing to adjust fields across like tons of recipes, even easy import/export. No more messing around with plugins to make that work.
Right.
It's a whole other level of control and, flexibility.
Okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down. But enough with all the like tech talk. I want to know like what's it actually like to use this thing?
Okay, so picture this. There's this little caret icon in your block editor sidebar, right?
Shoot.
Yeah. You click on it and boom, you're in content model land. And honestly, it's crazy intuitive. You drag, you drop, you can nest groups for like your ingredients list, the steps. Even I was impressed. And I know my way around this stuff.
And from what I've seen, it's not all just like smoke and mirrors.
Yes.
The code itself is supposed to be pretty elegant, right?
It is like when you create a new recipe post using this thing, all the data you enter goes right into that template you design. And the coolest part, it all stays editable, which gives you just like incredible flexibility.
So it sounds like we've got this like crazy, powerful, but still user-friendly way to build custom
Yeah,
content.
for sure.
And everyone's freaking out, right? WordPress is finally giving the people what they want.
Well, about that freaking out, the initial reaction was huge. Like, people were geeking out.
Oh, yeah.
Myself included, because it really seemed like this prototype was like solving a major pain point. But then, I don't know if you felt it too, but there was some confusion that like followed that initial.
Yeah, it was like everyone got all hyped up for the main course, and then someone swapped it out for like a breadstick.
Yeah, pretty much.
What happened?
So WordPress.com, they built the prototype, right? And they clarified that they weren't planning on like immediately rolling this into WordPress core.
Okay.
And I think this is where it's really important to understand the difference between, WordPress.com and .org.
Okay, yeah. Pop quiz time for everyone listening.
Yeah.
I'm guessing most people just think WordPress is like one thing and don't realize there are two different, I don't know, kingdoms there.
Yeah, exactly. So .com dash, that's the hosted service, and they can kind of be more experimental. Then there's .org, which is the open source software, the one we all know and love. And they've got, a different way of doing things, different priorities.
So this amazing prototype is just like stuck in .com limbo.
Not so fast. And this is where it gets really interesting. The prototype code, you can export it as a plugin.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Like you can literally go and click around with this thing right now.
Oh, wow. So are they saying prove you want it? by kind of like tossing it to the community?
It's totally possible. This could be their way of gauging interest, getting some real-world feedback, seeing how people actually use it. It could even be like some independent developers might even take it, polish it up, make it even better, and who knows, maybe it'll become so good that even core WordPress can't ignore it.
Right. The classic WordPress underdog story. But okay, even if this exact like prototype, it kind of fades away. Haven't we learned something here?
Absolutely. Like, we've started having these conversations, right? Like, what do WordPress users actually need? And this prototype, even if it never officially launches, it's pushed the boundaries of what we thought was even possible inside WordPress. And I think that's huge.
Okay, so where do we go from here? Is this great content model prototype like our only hope for a brighter future, a future full of custom content?
Not at all. I mean, remember those roadmap features we were talking about, like data views and data forms?
Yeah.
Those are still being like actively worked on, and those could bring some of that prototype magic into the core of WordPress, officially.
Oh, yeah. Those are the ones that have me thinking like, spreadsheet view for my blog post. Sign me up.
Exactly. Data views are all about like seeing and managing your content in totally different ways, but without having to like mess with the actual structure of it all underneath.
And data forms, that's about making it easier to actually create all that custom content, right?
Right. Like imagine standardized fields, input types, validation, all that stuff that makes working with custom content less of a pain, whether you're a developer or like just trying to DIY it.
It's almost like they're taking all the best parts of this prototype and like baking them right into WordPress.
It's a natural progression, really. And this whole thing, it kind of reminds me of this pattern you see in tech sometimes. Remember Calypso? That whole experiment to make WordPress more like app-like.
Oh yeah, that was a while ago. I was so curious about that.
Yeah.
It didn't really like take off though.
Right. But it had some really interesting ideas, ahead of its time. And sometimes, these big kind of ambitious projects,
Mm.
even if they don't like become a huge thing right away, they kind of plant these seeds.
Right.
And we see those seeds in things like Playground and Studio now. Like WordPress is going in this direction, being more user-friendly.
So this create content model
Yeah.
prototype,
Yeah.
it's almost like a shot across the bow, you know? Like, hey, this is what's possible. Pay attention.
Exactly. And, don't forget, the code is open source. So anyone listening could go to the GitHub repo right now, poke around, see how it works, maybe even contribute.
Right.
They've got a try it out button on there, like they're begging for feedback.
Okay, last question, then I'll let you get back to like your code spelunking. What does your like dream workflow look like for custom content? If WordPress could read your mind, what would it build for you?
Honestly, for me, it always comes back to that, like that smooth blend of visual design and, having that structured data underneath. This prototype, it gave us a taste of that. And honestly, I think WordPress can do it. It might take some time, but the future is looking pretty exciting.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
The future of WordPress. It's customizable, it's powerful, and it just might be here sooner than we think. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, happy content creating.